you go. And we're back. Everybody, I am super excited. We've got Emily here with us today. She is a former educator. Now she is helping teachers narrow in and feel less stressed.
Yeah.
And we did, I think we were at an hour and a half of our recorded podcast, and we are switching over to live. And we were talking about how you have to prove you're a teacher.
I
and is this every
do.
day?
Every day.
You have to like turn this in that like,
yes. So
how do you log that?
It's typically on some sort of like Google spreadsheet, where you have to kind of type in the student's name. This is the date. This is what I did for that student and their needs, and this is how it worked out. So
Is this just for like 504 IEP kids, or is this for every student?
it's for 504, it's for IEP, and then any child who could potentially be on a 504 or IEP. So it's a good chunk of your classroom that you're having to do this.
So just all of them.
Yes. And having to find the time to sit down and type all this out is something that a lot of times I would have to do at home.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't have the time in the classroom to pause and type this all in.
It just blows my mind. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes even you'll say, I worked with little Johnny on adding and subtracting numbers. He really struggled and only got 20% right. And then you'll go to a meeting and they'll ask, well, where's the worksheet he was working on? Like,
So you're supposed to keep the worksheets?
yes. Because it's all about proving it, kind of. Which I don't think is fair.
It's not
because
fair.
I would hope that you would trust me, the educator, that I'm working with this child, and then I wouldn't have to provide pages and pages of documentation that said, hey, yeah, I'm helping kids.
I mean,
that's what my job is.
That's what you're supposed to. I mean, you showed up, so I would think that that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I always say, I love teaching,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't always love being a teacher.
Mm.
Because teaching was such a small part of my job. And the rest was proving that I was a teacher, putting out fires constantly, working with kids on social and emotional skills, which I do love, but it's hard when there's not time in the day set out for that. And if, your principal walks in and you're supposed to be doing a science lesson, but I'm doing a calm down lesson on how to control your words, some principals might be okay with it. And then I've worked with some who are not okay with it. And that's really difficult. Working with...
Yeah, but you're doing, like, maybe you can't get to the lesson because your class is on a, level 9, and you know that your class isn't going to be able to focus until you bring everybody down to a level 2.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, not every administrator out there knows that. Because they expect, excellency. And another strange thing is I've worked for a principal who, if she were to go to my room and then go to the next room, we had to be doing the same exact lesson with the same exact worksheet, the same exact activity, like no differentiation at all. And I thought that was so weird because every class is different and every teacher is different. So, okay, I understand if we're both supposed to be teaching math at this time, but I might be using a worksheet and she might be showing a video at this time or a game at this time, and we don't all have to be the same. And, if you got caught doing something different.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So you think one of your biggest struggles was admin?
I think so.
Because you didn't have the freedom to do what it is that you were God-given to do, which is to teach.
That and being trusted that I knew what this group of kids needed as a whole and individually.
Yeah, because the teachers, like, they've got the one-on-one time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Admin doesn't.
No.
Admin needs to know its teachers. That's it.
Yeah.
Trust the teachers. Know your teachers. I thought that's what staff development was for.
It should be. And I'm sure, I'm not an administrator. I'm sure they've got their own set of problems that they're trying to deal with. But I trust that they know what they're doing and keeping the school going and functioning and not burning down.
Right.
And I would hope that they have the same trust in me that I'm educating these students and doing what's best for them. And unfortunately, it's just not always the case. So when you show up to work and you feel like, your students are rowdy, their parents don't respect you, maybe your admin doesn't respect you, that's a lot to walk in the door at 7 a.m. to have to deal with.
Yeah, it is. Then how do you keep going? Like, how do you keep yourself focused and like, hey, this is what I should be doing?
Oh, man, the students. Oh, my gosh. The love that I and most teachers have for their students is very hard to put into words. How you can love a child so much and want what's best for them, and they're not even your own.
Mm.
It's so hard to put into words. Just, I had a student when I taught first grade one time, she goes, "Why don't you go to work?" She didn't understand. I just came here every day to hang out with you guys. And I had to explain, this is my work. This is my job. I love being with them. I think it's so humbling to be the one that shows them that letters turn into words, which turn into sentences, which turn into books. Oh my gosh, I think that's so cool.
Mm.
And to have a kid who comes in who won't talk to you or look at you in the eye, and in the year, and a big hug. That was the hardest part about leaving, was I couldn't tell them every day how much I loved them anymore. And that's really weird to me.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of them who follow me on TikTok. And they'll comment like, "Hi, Miss Howard, it's me, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love you. I miss you so
Aww.
much." But
Yeah.
it's true. You show up every day for those kids, for those 20 sets of eyes that look at you and need you so bad.
Yeah.
That's why you get up in the morning and leave your own child to go be with them.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No, I can't imagine that it is. And anybody who leaves their child, it's hard. Like,
Mhm.
even working, like moms leave their babies to go work. I mean, very rarely do you ever have it is rare now
Yeah, it
to
is.
have a stay-at-home mama.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very, very rare. And I'm not that I'm a stay-at-home mom, because I'm still working. Like, I do digital creation. So I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I have flex.
Yeah.
So, like, I am on the PTO board. How do you feel PTO plays into education right now?
I think every group is different.
Oh, absolutely. There's like some of the schools that our kids came from, I was like, nah.
I think that if you're going to be a member of the PTO, I think you need to be understanding of all the different types of families that are in that building.
Amen.
I think you need to be respectful of people's time.
Yep.
That not every mom is going to be able to drop everything and go decorate for the Christmas party.
Right.
That not every dad has the funds to go buy, 6 bags of candies for the fall festival.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we forget the T part in PTO. Obviously, we're always trying to make sure that the kids have things that they need and fun things and things to look forward to. But I wish that there were more opportunities for them to go to the teachers and say, hey, how can we help you out?
Mm-hmm.
What do you really need?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's overwhelming to have 4 parent volunteers walk in and say, "Okay, well, what can we do?"
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly in the moment, that's really like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But instead, if you come to me and say like, "What's something you need?" "Well, I really need someone to change the bulletin board in the hallway."
Mm-hmm.
Or I could really use someone, to staple these handwriting packets together.
So one of the, for me, one of the PTOs that I was super frustrated with was everything had to go through the principal. We were never able to actually talk to the teachers unless it was our student's teacher. So yeah, if you were lucky enough to have a PTO board parent in that student in your classroom, you had that connection, but it was never like if we had an idea that was like one of the ideas I tried to get advocated for was like, hey, I'm a social media manager, content person. Can I have your Amazon list so I can market, give you a spotlight? Every single one of these teachers every week. Can I not do a spotlight on a teacher with the Amazon wish list? Because I guarantee you I can get that shit purchased.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me that.
Yeah.
And I was turned down for it.
And did they tell you why?
No.
That's common. Not being told why is very common.
And I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I could have purchased and supplied everything that teacher needed by just doing, they're like, oh no, we do a teacher appreciation spotlight. And I'm like,
a lot of districts and
I'm like,
schools,
I don't care about the spotlight. That's not the point. The point is the teacher has a need that we can fulfill if you would just back up and let me help this teacher.
A lot of districts and schools are weird about Amazon wish list because they think it makes it look like that they're not providing what that teacher needs.
You're not.
That's true. It's true. It's true.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not, because you don't know what that teacher's teaching.
Mm-mm.
That teacher may want to teach division with flour.
Yeah.
Let's give that teacher, you want bags of flour? How many bags of flour you want? How many marbles you need? You want some little plastic bears? Great, do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what you need to teach my child.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what it takes. And I also know that there's not every parent in that classroom can, like you said, provide 6 bags of candy.
Right.
But you know who can? The business owner in California, the business owner in Washington. Like, you don't know the social media reach that we could have.
Right.
So why are you not allowing a social media content creator go, sure, here's a picture of our teacher, here's what the teacher teaches, and here's her wish list? You know what could be done with that?
Right.
But no, the answer was no. I was like, this is so stupidly frustrating. So, you know what I did? I put out the social media blast on my social media and I was like, drop your freaking Amazon wish lists.
Mm-hmm.
So my intent to do with that, because I've got the post earmarked, is to go back and be like, hey, could you send me a headshot and then what you teach?
That's exactly what I would do.
So that I can push out individually each one of these lists for y'all. Because that's my goal. Like, because, there's a way around it.
Right.
So guess what? Maybe now the school district or even the campus that I'm a member at will be like, oh yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It's not. It's just so.
That's what I would recommend.
Aggravating.
Talking to your kid's teacher and then saying, if there's other teachers who have lists that you know of, send them my email.
But why do you got to do it behind the curtains?
I don't know.
They're like, oh, well, you can't make us look like we're not supplying what.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Not in the things that are on Amazon wish lists.
Right.
Like, sure, yes, we have, supply closets with paper clips and all that. Yes, I get that. But that's not what's on Amazon wish lists.
Nope.
At all.
Mm-mm. No, it's more like
Play-Doh and puzzles and
or a bookshelf.
Yes.
Because the teachers have to supply the bookshelves. And guess what? Johnny decided to use it as a stepladder and broke one of the shelves. Like, and then it's not the district that's going to replace that. It's the teacher that's going to replace it because it wasn't the district's bookshelf.
The most item I see on teachers' wish list, no matter the grade level, is snacks.
Really?
Because it's something that every student could benefit from, because like I said, kids go home and they might not have snacks.
Yeah.
And they might not have enough for lunch, or they might not have enough for breakfast. And sometimes a kid just needs a packet of goldfish and then they're fine.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I see the most of on every Amazon wish list. So if you're a parent and you're like, how can I help the teacher out? See if you can bring, a box of gummies from Sam's or whatever, or Costco and
something. I would say, like, the things that I randomly send throughout the school year are hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
Tissues. And I guess now snacks. But yes, tissues, because it's the allergy season, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you are looking for your child to get a really good immunity system, like, send them to school because it's the petri dish. Yeah.
And also, I want to say, kids come home with a school supply list for their classroom. But when you think about the music teacher, the art teacher, the PE coach, they don't have school supply lists. So they don't have 20 kids bringing in two sets of tissue boxes.
Raise your arm?
Are you stretching? I don't know.
Do you have a favorite student?
Do we? Oh, these are questions. Oh, great. I love y'all.
Do I have a favorite student? Of course I don't have a favorite student. What?
No?
I love them all. No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. It's
I
like
think,
asking who your favorite child is.
right? Some
Like,
parents will admit that, some won't. Um,
I
I
have
don't think
memorable
that's what I
students.
was gonna say. Is I think that there's not a favorite student, but there's a student that pulls on your heartstrings.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, not that they're your favorite, but maybe they had a situation that was closer to your heart,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily a favorite.
I do have students who are memorable for things that they were going through that I may not exactly share because it's personal.
Of course.
But I've had students who have serious medical issues
Mm,
and who, when they came to school and they were healthy, it was a miracle.
mm,
And they came to school every day, not necessarily to get an education, but just to have a normal life while they can.
mm,
Um, I've had students whose parents were killed, murdered.
mm.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
and those are the students that I think about
How do
when I
you?
go to bed at night.
So when we were in school, and granted, we've got an age gap for
Mhm.
sure, but we never did security drills.
No, not at all.
How do you feel about that?
I hate that we have to do it. I hate that we have to do it. And I hate that they know why we do it.
Yeah.
I hate that when they hear that certain bell, they'll say, oh, we have to do this in case someone comes in here with a gun.
Yeah.
I understand why we have to.
Yes.
I totally get it. But it's scary, especially when you're thinking like kindergarten, first grade. And I have, kids cry even when it's just a drill because it's scary to be told, turn off the lights, go in the corner, don't say a word. That's scary when you're 6 years old.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, because being in Texas, the worst thing we ever had was go in the hallway and put this book over your head.
Yeah.
And that was our tornado drill.
Yeah. With the glass doors.
Yeah.
Like we're so safe in this
Yeah,
hallway.
exactly. Yeah. And it was like, and then it was a turn, and then it got to the point where it was like, okay, the book ain't enough. We need you to put your head towards the locker, put your butt
Yes.
towards the hallway,
Yes.
and put the book over your
and you're
head.
always over like a dead cockroach in the hallway. It's so gross.
Yeah. Yeah. But now there's not textbooks. So what are we doing for the tornado drills?
Good old fashioned hands over the head.
Oh, hands over the head. Those are going to
That's
save
gonna
us.
keep you safe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Don't you know?
Good to know. That makes me feel so much better.
So we were under a tornado warning right before Christmas break, right before. And in my classroom, we had a big window. So our safe space was we had to go in the faculty bathroom. And it was a true tornado warning. Like it wasn't a drill. We really had to go. And so we all file in to this tiny, tiny one-person bathroom.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh. And I'm sweating because I'm in my tacky Christmas sweater and my Santa hat. And I'm like, get down and cover your head, just like crazy. And then the toilet had an automatic flusher and it kept flushing because the kids kept like getting up like groundhogs. And I'm like, this is a freaking nightmare. And like, finally I had to open the door because I was like, we're going to suffocate. There's like no airflow.
Yeah.
So I like fling open the door and there was an admin or somebody walking by like, close the door. What's the door going to do? Like we're all going down if there's a tornado. It's so hot in here. And then at one point a kid got bored and I look over and she's resting her little chin on the toilet seat. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's always something going on.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a barrel of monkeys, all those drills.
Oh my goodness.
Every fire drill they think is real. I smell smoke. No, you don't. Get in line.
Get in line.
You're fine. Everybody's fine.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I didn't even think about those. I could just.
Yeah, that was yeah.
I hope that's a story that they tell when they grow up. Like, we were stuck in the bathroom one time and the
gosh.
toilet just kept flush.
I was just like, this is a nightmare. Like, it's like a Twilight Zone episode. Like, you hear the sirens outside, and it's just like, whoosh, whoosh. Oh my gosh. It's awful.
Oh my
And then
heavens.
I'm tired. I'm going to lay my head on the toilet.
Oh my gosh. No, what's it say?
I'm eavesdropping.
Oh, Joshua Atwood. I'm Oh, I guess.
Parents are becoming a problem for their kids. It hurts the teacher's ability to teach when the parents are constantly coddling their kids and sending emails to teachers and principals complaining about stupid shit. I get that. Um, I wish that every parent would understand that we're on the same team,
Yeah, we're team kid.
that we want what's best for your kid.
Yeah.
And I understand that at home they come home and do their homework and wash the dishes and go to bed. I get that. But sometimes at school, it's a different scenario. And when I, contact you and I'll say, hey, Jimmy was hitting people on the playground today and kicking people, or I caught him looking at someone's answers on the test. I would sincerely hope that you would trust me, that I wouldn't just try to get your kid in trouble, and I'm letting you know so we can fix the behavior together.
Mm-hmm.
But I get the coddling. I see that a lot. Um, just them wanting to believe that their child couldn't make no mistake. And, no kid's perfect. And just because, I catch them doing something not supposed to, it's not the end of the world. They're not necessarily, getting it written up or something. But if there's an issue, whether it be academics or behavior, if I'm calling to let you know, I've probably already tried to deal with it in the classroom, or it's severe enough that it warrants a phone call. And that's just something I wish was an easy fix, and it's not. Um, I always tell, teachers right off the bat, get to know the parents and let them know who you are. Like, I'm here for your kid, because the first time they hear from you shouldn't be, I caught them hitting someone on the playground or whatever.
Yeah.
But the parent thing is a tough one, because it's not something that you can necessarily fix. Um, I've had a lot of the emails where, my child came home and they had all their hair cut off. Wow, what are you talking about? A lot of times it's the first time I'm even hearing of this. I had no idea, and the principal CC'd on it, and well, great. And so I feel like whenever parents send an email, and let's say it's the first time they're trying to contact me, and they send an email and they CC the principal or whoever, like, I'm not a kid. Are you trying to get me in trouble? Like, let's talk about it. Let's calm down. And a lot of times they assume that I've been aware of a situation, and I'm not always aware of a situation. She comes home every day crying because so and so's bullying her. She's never told me ever that anyone's bothering her. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
You've got
it's hard.
23 different personalities in a classroom.
And I explain that
23.
to parents too. Things happen in the classroom that I don't see. And
Well, yeah, because you're
Yeah.
working with, small group number 4 at the table, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry that they had something going on
Right.
while they were supposed to be doing whatever.
I would just tell, let parents know we're doing the absolute best we can. And things happen and kids make mistakes. But at the end of the day, we're there to make sure your kids are safe and protected.
I don't think I could be a teacher just for the pure fact that my comeback would be like, would you like to come try? Would you like to come in here and try? Because I'm not here to be torn down, because I know I'm showing up every single day. And please, come try. Better yet, why don't you join the PTO and come sit in my classroom?
Yeah. It's what you think and what you want to say.
Yeah.
But you can't.
I know. That's why I would not make a teacher. But that's also why I am on the PTO board and advocate so hard for our kids and to help our children, because the districts are not. They're just not doing it.
It's unfortunate.
It is. Absolutely, it's unfortunate.
That we show up every day for your kids, every single day. It's why we go and we get paid crap and we have little to no respect, and it's for your kids. That's why we do it.
I wish that we could somehow get you guys more respect. And I wish somehow we could get you guys like more pay, get it restructured. Like, how do we get you guys together on a teacher level to advocate so you're heard?
So a lot of people's first thought would be to do some sort of walk or riot
Picket line
or
or
march.
something. Yeah.
Fun fact, if you do that in the state of Texas, you lose your teaching license.
Seriously.
It's
That's
gone. You
awful.
are done.
So you're not even allowed to speak up for yourself?
No.
Wow. So how do we... So we're quieted.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do?
Well, the parents can help a lot by asking the things that we need. The parents can speak up at board meetings. Teachers can speak up in board meetings, but they're obviously scared too for fear of, reprimand or losing their
Mhm.
job or
Mhm. Yeah. How many so in your 7 years of teaching, how many teachers have come and gone and decided to teach and not teach?
oh my gosh, more than I can count, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a first year teacher that came in to teach for 1 year and then was like, "Nope."
There were teachers who didn't even make it the full year and left.
What? Seriously?
And student teachers who came in to get their hours and by Christmas were like, not going to be a teacher. And they're graduating in 4 or 5 months.
So what are they gonna
Mm-hmm.
like time to
Mm-hmm.
transfer to business, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know,
Mm-hmm.
so
The scariest situation I've been in with a student. Um, I've been threatened. I'm going to bring a gun to school and shoot you in the head.
wow.
That's been a thing. 10 years old.
Wow. And what is the recourse? Obviously, I'm sure there's a report somewhere that you have to do.
I had to do a report. We have to do what's called a threat assessment, where they have someone come in and talk to the kid and find out, is this a joke? Are you being serious? Is there actually a gun at your house? They do all kinds of questioning. That's done behind the scenes. I never see that.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
he told that student told, no, when I say he, I should say student.
I think I said he.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a student.
A student. So that was told directly to your face.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't like you heard it through the grapevine.
No.
Wow.
He was mad because, and I don't even remember why he got a consequence. That was my first year teaching. And he was mad at me, and I can handle, I hate you. That's fine. I get it. You're a kid. You don't have to like me right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really intense. And I remember being scared to go to school the next day.
Mm. Yeah, I would be scared too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times have you heard that it actually happens? Quite a bit.
When there was a shooting in Mansfield, and that trial just went on, we were the elementary school across the street.
Wow.
So that was scary.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily fearful that the shooter was going to come in our school, but just to know it was happening so close. And I had a student teacher at the time that went to that high school. I was worried about her.
Yeah.
We still had to go into lockdown.
Well, yeah.
And through the windows, I mean, you could see, 20, 30 cop cars, and the kids were confused. And I remember I closed the blinds and turned off the lights and
just regular lockdown procedures. Yeah.
but they could see the police and they knew something was wrong, and trying to calm them down and not be scared myself is hard.
Yeah. There's a lot of sacrifice for teaching. A lot of sacrifice. And you keep it in between recordings and stuff. You're just like, I wanted to put my family first.
Mm-hmm.
So explain just a normal average day.
I think that's impossible because it's always different. But let's say, I get to work at 7:15 and I go to make copies for the day's lessons, and maybe the copier's broken, maybe the ink's out, or maybe it's working. Who knows? Maybe I have what I need, maybe I don't. Kids start arriving as early as 7:30, so I have to have something for the early kiddos to show up and do that's not necessarily a grade, but it's something they can do to kind of keep them out of trouble in the morning. Throughout the day, you're teaching different subjects. People are coming in and out to pull different kids for various reasons, for testing, for, dyslexia or speech, all different kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
You get lunch and recess. By the time you drop your kiddos off, take them to the bathroom, I maybe have 15 minutes for lunch, maybe. Maybe I can go to the bathroom during that time because you'll either have lunch or recess duty. You get back in, you hit the ground running teaching. And then they might have their elective class, their PE, their art, their music. During that time is my planning period. That's the time where I can finally go to the bathroom and then maybe eat something if I didn't eat my lunch earlier. It's a time when I can print things out or work on lesson plans or go in the car and turn up the AC and cry, because that's a very real thing that teachers do because it's a hard job. I might have to answer emails from parents, call parents, do documentation, do data. And that's only like an hour, and it goes by like so fast. The kiddos come back and you might have a couple hours left for the day, and they are tired and they are worn out and they don't want to be there anymore. And that's when the behaviors start, acting up. And so you're just doing your best to make sure that they're engaged for the rest of the day until that bell rings, and then you exhale. And then sometimes the kids get all picked up on time, and sometimes you're there for an extra hour because the parent's not there yet and you can't get a hold of them.
Mm.
So it is a lot of mental capacity that takes up your day. And then I have to go home to my own family and figure out what needs to be cooked for dinner, what needs to be thrown in the washing machine, the dishes need to be done, what do I need to have ready for tomorrow? And it's a lot.
What time are you walking in the door?
Like when I get home or when I get to school?
When you get home from school, from work?
Usually between like 4:30 and 5.
Okay. And then obviously you've got a son, and you've got a husband, like you've got your own, but you didn't finish your work day at work. Like you still have
No.
to do a lesson plan,
I still
grade
have to
papers.
do lesson plan, grade papers, documentation. If the copier's broken at work, I have to use my printer at home to make things.
Yeah,
I mean, there's always something to be done, always.
well, and who's paying for that? It ain't the district.
No, it's not.
It's not the district. Mm. What is one of the things that you would recommend for parents that we can do? Or even several things.
Yeah. I think it depends on what grade you're going in, but I can, I'll speak on elementary school. When they get home from school, really press to ask about their day. I know it's so easy for them to get on the iPad, get on the TV, get on the computer, get on whatever. Really press them about what they're learning about. Be a part of it, because it's always shocking to parents when they come to open house or whatever and see the work they're doing. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they were doing this. Well, it's been in their homework for 3 months. So talk to your kids. I'd say that's number one. Know what's going on at school. Know if they have homework. Know the teacher. Get in touch with the teacher. If you have a kiddo who especially is going into kindergarten, the teacher's in charge of a lot of the academic things, but think about smaller things like, does your child know how to tie their shoes? Do they know how to ask for help? Do they?
And to that, if you have a child who does not know how to unbuckle themselves, the car drop-off line is not for you.
Yes.
If you do not know how to kick your kid out and your kid does not know how to tuck and roll, you need to be walking your child to the door. The drop-off line is not for you.
I'm also going to add to that, listen, I love Jesus, but if you need to say the whole Holy Rosary, you need to start when you leave your house and finish when you pull into the drop-off line. Because if you're trying to do a whole 5-minute prayer when your child's trying to get out of the drop-off line, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Pray on your way and then let them get out of the car.
Yeah.
Eat on your way and then get out of the car.
Yep. Yeah. This is not where you write them a farewell letter.
No.
No, it's not. Like, I hate being behind the car that's like, I can't let my kid out because you didn't let your kid out. And you didn't let your kid out because you want to be the 1st kid. Like, I don't care where your kid, I don't care.
And I get it all the time. I haven't kissed him yet. I haven't prayed for him yet. I haven't told him, there's always something. I haven't done it yet. Okay, well, can you do it like on the way to school or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole booger
so
in and of
beyond
itself.
frustrating for me. I'm like, get your kid out of the car.
Yep. Trying to think of other things that help. Very big on like social emotional things, like if someone takes something from you, what should you do? If someone is saying something ugly to you, what should you do?
Okay, so to that, I do this activity with the girls, and it has to do with it's toothpaste. And so
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you take, it's a plate and you take a tube of toothpaste, and I know things are expensive. You can go to the dollar store and get cheap toothpaste. It's the same thing. But you take the toothpaste and you're like, okay, I want you to take it and I want you to squeeze it out all on the plate. And they're like, okay. And they do that. And then you're like, okay, now I want you to take all the toothpaste and I want you to put it back in the tube. And they're like, I can't do that. And I was like, okay, so what else functions like that? Can your words come out and you say them, and they are heard, they are seen, and they are felt, you cannot put them back in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do that exercise, and I've done it with my Girl Scouts. I've
Yeah.
done it with, I try and do that with just about anybody that runs through my household.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the house of which we always have a kid, an extra kid. What I don't care. Like, and I keep telling him, I'm like, we need a cargo van, not because our
Yeah.
family's huge, but because we always have the extra kids.
Mm-hmm.
And but I just think that's so important, is that the kids need to understand, because we used to say, oh, well, sticks and stones may break my
Right.
bones, but words never hurt. That's a fucking lie.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry for the F word.
No, it's
but it's
true.
a freaking lie.
It sure is.
Words do hurt,
They
and they
do.
mold your mind, and they mold who you believe you are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so the emotional development part, yes.
It is. And I've done another activity similar for older kids, where you like just get a marker or an ink pad and have them make a thumbprint on a piece of paper and then ask them to erase it. And they can't, right? Because it's ink. And so I teach them, it's the same thing when you post something on social media. Anything you post online, you can delete it. It's not gone. Anything you post on the computer is like putting your thumbprint out there, and it's there. You can delete a picture or a post, but it's still out there. And
somebody may have screenshotted it.
Oh, absolutely. And kids are starting out younger and younger, getting on TikTok and Instagram and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And, some of my kids in
And
third grade,
they don't have that frontal lobe development.
No, they don't.
To filter what they should and shouldn't post.
And they'd want to come, oh, Miss Sowers, I just did this trend on TikTok, watch. And they'd hold up the phone and the songs that they dance to. And, they're just trying to be silly. But what I hated was you can see on a TikTok how many people have saved it.
Which is gross.
And that's what is nasty to me. And what would
because
scare
you know
me
what
the
they're
most.
because you know what they're saving it for.
Who is saving this 10-year-old girl dancing to Who Let the Dogs Out?
Question.
No.
And at what age do you think they should?
Man, that's hard. Because I think social media is such a gateway for cyberbullying. I mean, my thought is like high school, honestly. Because what do you need to post? What's so important that you need to have social media?
Yeah.
Like, I get you want to watch funny videos on TikTok. Okay, I understand that. Or you want to see pictures on Instagram of your favorite celebrity. Okay, I get that. But what is so important about wanting a social media profile? What do you want to post so bad that you want other people to see?
Yeah.
And I think, when you're a kid, you just want to be silly and goofy. But unfortunately, there's people out there who don't think as innocently as you do and don't see you just being sweet and goofy. And I hate to even talk about it because it's so disgusting. And I just hate it so much. But in my mind, I think at least high school, or minimum, I would say high school.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think it's necessary. Now, having a phone, I think, is a different situation. But at the social media, no, there's just no point to it.
Yeah. It's a very hot topic in this house for sure. I mean, granted, we've got a 17-year-old, and then we got a 13-year-old, and then we got 2 9-year-olds. And so the 9-year-olds see the 17-year-old, and they're like, oh, we want Snapchat. We want to play with the filters. We want, and it's like, okay, I can understand the simplicity of your thought because you think it's just filters.
Yeah.
I get that. But then it's like, it's Snapchat. Things get disappeared. Like, I don't like that aspect of it, that you can't go back and look.
Right.
And I don't use Snapchat. I'm not a Snapchat user. I'm not a Snapchat member. I just don't, because I don't understand it. But I mean, I would use every other platform of social media. And my generation was a social media guinea pig.
Yeah.
And so now my kids, it's like, there's a lot of things that need to be in place. There's a lot of things we need to learn. There's a lot of things the government needs to learn about social media and children. And I think that we're still learning. And yeah.
I used to log into my brother's AIM account.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That was us. We got home from school.
Yeah, right?
We got home from school and we didn't care who was on the phone. You're getting off the phone because I got to do the dial up.
And I was like, I know my brother's friends. They come over all the time.
Yeah.
So you would see.
They hear the door
online.
sound.
Yeah. So I would just click whoever's online. Hi. Next, hi. I wouldn't know who they were.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, oh, it's all these friends that come over anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just, and then, you hear him getting off the bus. XXXX. Sorry, Nathan, if you're watching this. But I didn't know. I was just like, I want to talk to my brother's friends and be cool like my brother. So.
Yeah. That's funny. Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because we were bused from, so there was an elementary school in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I never went to that elementary school. I went to the elementary school on the other side of town because we
Okay.
used my grandparents' address for
Gotcha.
that. So because they didn't want to move me. It was a great elementary. Plus I had all my resources already set up. So,
Mhm.
and it was within the same district. So, and then I didn't start going to school with your brother until we went to intermediate school.
Uh-huh.
Because in Mansfield it's intermediate and then middle school.
Yeah.
Not every district is structured the same,
Mm-mm.
but we had campus for what was it, 5th and 6th, I
Uh-huh.
think. So 5th and
And
6th had its own
7th and 8th.
campus, and then 7th and 8th had its own campus, pretty close to each other.
Mhm.
What I didn't understand is you rode the bus with those kids, but you weren't allowed to go to school with those kids.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
How are you going to put us on the same bus? Because we learned more from them on the bus
Oh,
than we probably
yeah.
would have learned if we went to school with them.
Uh-huh. The bus is scary.
Tell me. So, yeah. And so we would bus and ride. So, yeah. And that was those school, though, that was pretty far from where we lived.
Yeah.
That school was really far
Mhm.
from where we lived, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. It was
We
not
were on the
close.
bus for a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't know how many, and I love your brother. So if you're watching, like,
I do too.
don't burn me on this, but I wonder how many bus drivers he retired.
I'm gonna go with maybe like 9. No, not really. But he was known to hop out the back emergency exit.
Yes, I
several
remember that.
times.
Yeah, I remember that for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he would lie about his name. And
Yes.
he would say like characters. He'd be like Bart Simpson. Like,
Stupid stuff.
yeah.
Or South Park was a big thing. So he was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he was a South Park watcher.
Uh-huh.
And so like the whole time we were on the bus, he'd be like, here go Kenny. Like that was the thing with South Park. And I was never allowed to watch South Park or The
Uh-huh.
Simpsons. It wasn't something that was allowed. And so I felt like I rode the bus, but I never fit in with any of the bus kids because like I didn't understand what they were talking about.
Mhm.
I didn't watch the same shows. I don't know, it was just different.
Yeah. And my brother, we're very opposite. He was
Very
very,
much.
like punk rock.
Yes.
And I remember one day he came off the bus with eyeliner. A girl
Oh,
had
I
put
remember
eyeliner,
that.
And my mom freaked out. That
Well,
was
and
really
at some
funny.
point he started painting his nails black too at some point.
He did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We grew up, but our houses were like catty corner from
They
each other.
were.
So
Mhm.
I was on the corner and you guys were across the street.
Uh-huh.
So your brother and I are the same age.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I remember the day you were born,
Mm-hmm.
and your brother just being like, cool.
Yeah.
Like,
We were about 8 years apart.
Yeah.
And we probably weren't really close until I was older, like in high school, because we just had different interests and just didn't have a lot in
well,
common.
8 years apart. That's at younger ages. You don't.
Mhm.
8 years is a lot.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a big difference. I mean, you got somebody who can go driving, and then you got somebody who just wants to sit and watch cartoons all day.
Uh-huh.
That's a big difference. But
I remember I would call his beeper incessantly because I would miss him
oh
because I had nobody at home to play with.
yeah,
And you probably felt like that a lot too. Like there's no one there to play with.
no, I was only child.
So like, I miss my brother. I'm going to call his beeper. He gets so mad because he'd call back and I'd answer and he'd be like, Mom wants me. And I'm like, no, it was me. I miss you. Can you come home?
Will you come home, please?
And it's not like, he would come in and play with me, but I
No.
just liked having somebody there.
Yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, he was something else. He just
Mhm.
recently got married.
He did.
That's awesome.
I love my sister-in-law
Do you?
and my little nephew.
Yeah.
They're great.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I just didn't think that it was gonna happen.
Yeah. I didn't. He was one of those that's like, I don't think I'm going to get married. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you find the right person and it just
Amen.
it works out.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, the Mansfield district of which we grew up in was completely different than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
So when I left the Mansfield district, we had just opened Summit High School. So
Mhm.
we had gone from North Campus to South Campus. So I was bused from one campus to the other, which was North and South.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had split, like certain classes were at certain campuses, and that Mansfield was tiny.
Yeah, it was.
Mansfield was tiny. So yeah, you didn't have the Mansfield High School. You had Mansfield, North Campus, South Campus, which
Mhm.
was it was weird.
Yeah.
And then And I remember, and then they opened Summit, which pissed so many people off.
Yeah, it did.
Because the Mansfield High School, like, that was the first separation.
Yes.
That was a big,
It was
big
the
deal.
first rival.
Yep. Yeah, we were very first rival. And then, so what was the old South Campus became Brookwester.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And now Brookwester is something completely different. They've moved it even now.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the technology school or something.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
So Brookwester was actually a teacher, and I was one of his students.
Really?
Yeah, I was one of his students when he was killed.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, like, I drive by that and I'm just like, I love that was he was an amazing teacher. He was greatly missed. He was actually hit and run by a person who was running from the police, and he was killed in front of the grocery store. Yeah, he was killed while he was getting groceries for his family.
Oh my gosh.
He was an amazing educator, and I love that they named a school after him. And he made an impact on so many kids' lives. But that was one of the very first traumatic events as a student that I remember is losing a teacher to no control of ours.
Right.
And then I remember the schools changing when I was in high school because Columbine happened. And I remember shifting my mindset going into school, sitting in the cafeteria, because a lot of Columbine, or the education that we had at the time, was that Columbine happened during lunch. I don't know if that was true or not, but and so I just remember, like, always being like, where are my exit points? How can I get out? Like, even training myself to that point.
Oh, yeah.
Because they didn't want to talk about it.
Right.
And then 9/11 happened. And I remember my teacher in high school was a Marine. He had gotten out and decided he was going to teach. And then 9/11 happened, and we didn't have a teacher anymore.
Wow.
He got called back. And so then we had a sub for a little while. And then the sub that took over, her name was Miss Long. And her and I butted heads hardcore. I was not a fan of her, and she sure as hell was not a fan of me.
Yeah.
But then it turned out that her and I became the best of friends.
Really?
It was the weirdest story. And then I became her teacher's assistant, and I still think about her often. And then I also think about my Marine teacher did he ever come back to teaching?
Yeah.
You know, and I remember, like, him being like, dude, your grades are slipping. I'm like, yeah, well, here's the deal. And I remember having this conversation just like this. I was like, here's the deal. If I make the swim team, I'll start caring about my grades. If I don't, you and I are going to have a lot more of these conversations. You cool?
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, you cool? He was like, I guess so. Like, I just remember that conversation so vividly with him, because 9/11 happened in September. So we had already had like the first 6 weeks or something. And he was just like, yeah, he was like, your grades suck. And I honestly probably wasn't passing. And it wasn't until I made the swim team that I cared, because you couldn't compete
Right.
if you didn't pass. You could still be on the team, but you couldn't compete.
And what class was this?
This was history.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen to me. He taught government or history of some sort.
Okay.
But it was perfect for him, and he was great at it. I don't like school. I'm not a school kid.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
But yeah. So
Did you like it more in elementary, or did you just never like school?
I never liked school. Never did. Okay, so I've told this story, and I don't know if Jason's released this podcast or not, but I remember when we moved from California to Texas in 93, and then I think it was like 94, 95 when we moved into the house in Arlington. And I remember sitting in class and my teacher being like, okay, today we're going to write a letter. And I remember sitting at my desk going, I don't understand. How does one letter of the alphabet describe what we're supposed to write about? And then I remember, like, she explained it a couple more times. And then I went to her desk and I was like, I don't understand. She was like, what don't you understand about writing a letter? And I was like, how does the letter C describe that whole story? And she's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, I think, the very beginning of where they started to test me. But moving from California, the education that I was receiving was nothing.
Really?
Was absolutely nothing. And you should remember your kindergarten. You should remember your pre-K. You should remember your first grade. And I started second grade in Texas. And that just goes to show you how far behind I was. And she didn't understand that. I legit just didn't understand how one alphabet letter, how does a letter, and I didn't know that a letter meant a paragraph.
Right.
And I should have in second grade known that a letter means a paragraph. Didn't.
And you know what's so weird is every teacher's different, but if you were my student and you said that to me, I probably would have giggled thinking it was cute and then be like, oh, I can see why that's confusing because a letter can mean two different things.
Yes.
But this is what we're doing.
Yes.
And I wonder if she would have taken the time to be like, no, when I said letter, I meant this. If you would have gotten it and been like, oh, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. But that was the beginning of my special education testing and then getting pulled out for resource classes and then like being made fun of on the playground and being bullied. And then I mean, I still remember my bully's name to this day, Samantha Dear Goddess. Can't stand
Samantha,
her.
if you're watching.
Right. I mean, I highly doubt it. But she, and that's why I do the words things with my girls because I don't want them to be that bully because I was different and I was pulled out for resource classes.
Yeah.
So no, I hated school. Swim team helped in high school. But intermediate school and middle school, hated. I don't think I retained anything. I went because I was supposed to go, but I didn't go and participate.
Yeah.
I did the absolute bare minimum and bless my teachers because like even I'm pretty sure that they just passed me because it was like no student left behind and just, push me through the thing.
Yeah.
Education now is different, I feel like, as far as like all of because there was no map testing.
Yeah.
There was no map testing. That's a newish thing, I guess.
MAP, for anyone listening who's confused, it's basically just another word for benchmark. And so when you think about standardized testing, like if you're from the state of Texas, you might have done TOS, or TAX, or STAR. That's kind of an accumulation of the whole year. But MAP testing is what have the students learned in this 6 weeks, and then there's a MAP test, and then there's the next 6 weeks, and then there's the MAP test. So it's just a benchmark of sorts that the district or the state creates.
Yes, and there's benchmarks for different subjects. And so you may have 3 or 4 days consecutive in a row of map testing to figure out where you are and how much your student has improved and then they're like, oh, okay. Then they red flag a student for they're not going to pass this. They're not going to pass the STAR. They're not going to pass the STAR and they're not going to pass the STAR. And so then that's where they start the extra resources for the kids.
Yeah.
So much.
And I'm really glad you brought up swimming because that's another point I want to make to parents is really push for your kids to get involved in something.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a part of the school, if it's a select soccer team or dance classes or an art class.
Yeah, you were a huge ballet.
I was. I took dance lessons, and I think it's so important for kids to have opportunities to be with other students outside of the classroom and other types of kids outside of the classroom and for them to have something to look forward to throughout the week. So no matter what it is, if it's a sport, if it's an art, if it's a club, just really push for your kid to get involved in something either through the school or outside of the school because I think every kid needs that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Our girls play volleyball. So last sports season was pure chaos. Each kid did 2 sports. So we would do volleyball and then softball. And then we had volleyball and soccer. And then we had basketball and baseball for Jacks, which is like, that's 2 kids. Like that's 2 sports times each child. So 2 times 4.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, I don't know how we made it. I do not know how we did
I get
it.
that.
No, and so now I'm like, y'all get one, pick your favorite. And I'm really like, so all the girls have decided that they like to play indoor sports, which is phenomenal because I don't mind sitting in the bleachers.
There you go.
Inside.
Good job.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about like a reschedule because of rain.
Right.
You just go inside to play volleyball and you go home. Like, who cares if it's raining?
Yeah.
And then Jack's, of course, can play baseball, which we don't have an indoor arena, nor do we have the money for that kind of level.
Yeah.
But yeah. But no, I'm glad you mentioned that because I've always just done it because it's like I find it as like build your network.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
because when I took dance classes as a kid, I mean, nobody from my classroom was in the same class as my dance class. Kids went to other schools. You know, they just were different kids from the kids I was used to hanging out with every day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And I just think it's cool. It's a good opportunity for kids to meet other kids and to have another form of not discipline, but just another adult that they have to listen to and follow some sort of set directions and have some sort of accountability outside the classroom.
Yeah. There's a saying, and I've seen it somewhere on social media, that's like, if you don't have a coachable kid, how are you going to have like a coachable adult?
Right.
To that, some kind of like to that same standard. And yeah, how do you expect your kid to grow up and be a trainable successful worker if they can't be trainable and listen and learn on a field or in a dance class.
It's true.
It's,
So something, doesn't matter what it is. And a lot of schools will offer like, a book club or a chess club or something.
we have ukulele.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's fancy. We didn't have that.
Yeah. You got to provide your own ukulele, but
Oh,
yeah. Who is responsible for those after school clubs?
the teacher that volunteers for it.
That says a lot about teachers.
Yeah, it does.
They volunteer their own time to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Do teachers get extra money or stipends for tutoring hours after school?
No, they do not.
Really?
Yeah. It's all volunteer based. And actually, even if you're voluntold, hey, you need to do tutoring after school, you are still not paid for it.
That's bull.
Amongst other things, yes.
Wow.
And what stinks is a lot of teachers choose to do clubs that's something that they're passionate about, and so they want to
The
do
middle
it.
school has a crochet club.
See, that's so cute, I think.
It is. And but the cool thing is like they make hats and beanies and stuff to either go to the nursing home or go to our local shelter. So,
Aw.
yeah.
So when I taught third in Grand Prairie, I had what was called the Rubies Club. You hear a lot about boys clubs in elementary school where the male teacher will, teach them how to be a man and how to tie and tie. Da, da, da. But there's never anything for the girls. So I started it. It was called the Rubies Club. And it was all about self-empowerment and positive self-talk and really just building yourself up as someone who loves yourself. And did I have to stay late? Yes, but I felt like it was important and I really enjoyed the work that I was doing.
That's
because
awesome.
I felt like it was a good age to start out. But yeah, any club you do after school, before school, you're not paid for it. No.
Wow. Yeah, because we even have runners club, which is cool for the kids. But I just wondered, like, where does that come from? And obviously, it's coming from the teacher's budget, whether it's pocket budget or time budget.
Yeah.
It's coming from somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Some schools are starting to implement club days, which is something Mansfield does, where it's like the last Friday of the 6 weeks, the first hour of the day is a club day. And so every teacher has their own club that they host in their classroom, or you can team up with somebody and basically the students can go wherever they want and do whatever they want at
That's
whatever
cool.
club. And I really like that because it's fun for me to see the kids do something they want to do. It's fun for the kids. They look forward to it. You can't do club day if you've had a referral or something. So it's like something you really have to earn. But there's a lot, most of them want to go to the gym because that's cool and you get to play games. But there's, music and Lego club, and I did puzzle club because I like puzzles, and there's dance. I mean, there's all kinds of clubs. But I think that's cool because it allows kids to kind of also learn what they like to do. And so when they get to those older grades and they can start to choose their own electives, then they can choose something that they're actually passionate about.
Yeah, and then maybe pass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the little high school kids that comes here, she was like, "Yeah, I got to retake art." And I'm like, "You have to retake art? Excuse me?" She's like, "Yeah, I failed it." And I was like, "Where were you, in the bathroom?" She's like, "Yeah."
Well,
I'm like, "You can't pass if you're not there." And I'm
Right.
pretty sure your mama told you the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Get your ass out of the bathroom and get your butt to class. Like, and so I was just giving her a hard time. And she was just like, she's like, "Yeah, I know." And I'm like, but that's one of the things where it's like, she probably wasn't passionate about it. That's why
Mhm.
she was in the bathroom. She didn't care.
Right. I wonder, did she have to take art? I wonder if she needed
I
an
don't
art
think
credit.
I think you have to have some type of art, which would mean choir, theater,
Oh, I see.
art, like something like that. So maybe that was like the lesser of all evils for her, but she still didn't want it.
Yeah. Now you got to do it again.
I know. Yeah.
That stinks.
And it's probably the same teacher.
Probably. I
Yeah.
don't know if they have a remedial art teacher.
Remedial art. Yeah. And art's probably not one of the classes that you could take in summer school.
I'm going to say no.
Any electives, I don't think they
I
have for
highly
summer
doubt.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one of the things too that I've learned recently is a majority of summer school is not because you failed the class, but because you failed the STAR test.
That is a thing. Yes. Which is really frustrating because a kid can fail the STAR for a multitude of reasons. They
Yeah.
could have test anxiety. I mean, the wording on the STAR test is weird. I don't know how to
Tricky.
describe it, but it's weird. And
Mhm.
if you ever want to know, I mean, you can look it up on the TEA website, or you could just Google, Texas STAR test, whatever grade, and see examples of the questions. But they're just weird, and I don't know how else to put it, but it's not shocking for a kid who's an average student to fail the test by a few points. It's really not. And of course,
So you
they
can
feel,
pass the grade but fail the test and still end up in summer school.
yes. Or they've started to do like required tutoring hours during school.
Yeah.
But once again, you're pulled from your classroom to go
Yeah.
get that. And what are you missing from your regular instruction if you're being pulled to do that? So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's really not any benefits to standardized testing, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I don't either. So I advocated for my oldest. She had failed the STAR test, and they're like, "We're going to send her to summer school." And I was like, "No, you're not."
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "We have to send her to summer school for the test." I said, "No, you don't." And that was really difficult
Yeah.
for the district. But I was like, "So, but wait, she passed the class, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, she did." And I was like, "Okay, cool. That's all we need." That test doesn't tell her anything. That test doesn't tell her who she's going to be.
Right.
That test doesn't tell her that she passed the grade. That test doesn't tell her that she learned anything. That test just tells her that she's a failure and that you only care that she passed the test and that's why she's in summer school. You're not screwing up my work schedule so that you can be better, or so that you can be better, because I don't believe that it's going to make you better. I believe that you're worried about your budget.
Yeah.
And that you're worried that your teacher is going to be like, "Oh my God, this student failed the test. And what are they going to think? Because they're going to think I didn't teach the student." I don't think you didn't teach my student. Obviously you did, because she passed her class. Either you fudged the books or she passed.
She just failed one test. I mean, it's not a big
exactly. So no, and I advocated and pushed so hard with the district. I was like, "You're not sending my kid to summer school, and you're not going to hold her back. And if you want to test me, I'm here to go toe to toe with you." She didn't do summer school, and she went to the next grade, and we didn't retake the STAR test. I want parents to know that you can advocate for your children for what's best for your children. The state does not own your children.
I would say, yes, that's totally correct. Advocate for your child. Maybe take what the teacher, the classroom teacher, has to say with a grain of salt. But anyone above that teacher who is not with your child from 8 to 3:30 or whatever it is, they don't know your kid.
Nope.
And I also just think the concept of summer school is weird because it's only a few weeks for half the day for 4 days a week. And I don't see how that short amount of time is going to aha moment every child.
It's
I
not.
just don't think that
For
that's a
high
thing.
school, I can see it. I mean, obviously, because our oldest has had to retake a class, but it's a class.
Yeah.
And she's retaking it based off of the fact that it's not like an elementary where, all day long you're getting like all of this stuff piled in. It's like she focused in on, this is the A class I've got to take and I've got to get this credit. For high school, it makes sense. For elementary and middle school, summer school does not make sense.
And I'm sure that I've never taught summer school, but I would assume that the curriculum is really condensed.
Oh,
because they can't, teach a full year's worth in a few weeks.
No.
And so it makes you think, is it condensed because that's what's only important?
Yep.
And if that's the case,
why are we fluffing a school day?
Why are we doing so much? I mean, it breaks my heart whenever I'm doing a 2-week lesson on addition and subtraction. My kids are just starting to get it, but they need a little bit of practice. But tomorrow I'm supposed to start multiplication and I can't do anything about it. Oh, I hate that. And I've had kids cry and say, "Please don't teach the next thing. Like, I'm just now getting this." And now you got to move on to the next thing because you got to follow this schedule. Because if you don't, you won't have it all taught by the test.
Yeah. And it always kills me is like, as soon as the test is over, it's like the teachers just quit. Like
a little bit. Yeah.
Like the education doesn't seem to be as much. The structure of the education doesn't seem to be as much.
It's a big exhale, I will say. You feel like there's no more chances for you to get in trouble, which is ridiculous because we're adults and there's no such thing as, getting in trouble or whatever. I would say for me, like whenever the STAR test would finish, I would start doing like passion projects that I knew the kids would be excited about. So for example, this past year after the STAR test was over, we did this huge project on food trucks because whenever we had career day, a food truck came and my kids were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen." So we did, how to create a menu, how you have to buy in bulk and then make your meal. And then we focused on the area and perimeter of the truck. And it was so fun. It wasn't for a grade, but it was fun. They happened to be doing math. They happened to be doing reading. but it wasn't for a test, and it was just fun, and they were still learning, and it was okay.
Yeah, that's the type of curriculum and education I think our kids need
Mm-hmm.
is real world application.
Yeah.
And maybe one of your kids is sparked off now to be like, hey, I can own a food truck. It is possible.
That'd
It's
be
not
cool.
overwhelming. Yeah. And like, um, it's so funny because I agree. It's like, I'm so glad I learned about octagons, especially during octagon season. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like I'm really there is an octagon season and it happens and I'm so glad I learned about them. No, like where was tax preparation? Where was tax brackets? Where was budgeting? Where was all of that?
So my argument to that is always, as the teacher, I can't teach everything,
Agreed.
and that some things should be taught at home. However, sometimes the parents weren't taught that either.
Nope.
And so they don't have a way to teach it to their kids.
Exactly.
And so I do think there's a deficit. I don't know necessarily if it's something that belongs in school, but it needs to go somewhere.
Yeah.
At an age appropriate, like, junior, senior, somewhere in between there when you're about to go off and be an adult.
Yeah.
I do think there needs to be something.
Yeah. Like not every child has the same opportunities. Not every child has the same privilege. And so some children aren't taught like this is how you go get a water bill.
Yeah.
This is how you go apply for a lost social security card. This is how you go apply for a driver's license. Like this is how you find car insurance. There's not a class for life skills unless you qualify for the life skills class, which is different in the fact of this is how you do laundry. This is how there is that life skills class.
There is.
Which is different, but not every student qualifies for that. But I feel like it's got to fall somewhere.
It does. One of my favorite things to do to volunteer for was to judge the finals for the science fair in the district. Oh my gosh, that was the coolest thing because it was like kids, second grade through seniors in high school. And it was kids who wanted to do it. They weren't forced to do it. And it was all about what they were passionate about. And the winner of the fair the year I judged ended up being a senior who had created an app that basically it was like an FAQ of all those things you just talked about.
Oh, that's
all
cool.
These different subjects that you could click on and it would tell you step by step how to do it. How to apply for financial aid, how to write a check, just like different things. And he just created it. And I remember asking him, like, do you want to do app creation? Like, is this what you're passionate about? And he said, I just want to make enough money to live. I said, I totally get and respect that.
Oh my gosh.
But it was really cool. I mean, it was a really good idea.
That is a really cool idea. It's needed. And our kids, I know, are going to be facing such a struggle because the big topic in conversation now is even $100,000 a year ain't enough.
No.
And even $100,000 times 2 ain't enough. And that's the huge topic of conversation now is what are our kids going to do for a living? And how are they going to make it?
And it's hard as a teacher
and when are they going to be able to move out?
Yes. When you say something like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would probably say 75% of the students I've had will say, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be an influencer on TikTok.
Yes.
And I don't want to discourage because that's not the point of me being a teacher, but it's hard because
it's not that you don't want to discourage, but you're like, how do I redirect?
Right.
How can I redirect my kids so that maybe that's like a supplemental to what they want to do? For the longest time, the youngest kid, Hartley, she was like, I want to be a firecracker, ballerina, housekeeper. I'm like, girl, I don't know how to do that, but let's do it. Like firecracker, I'm concerned with.
Yes.
Ballerina, housekeeper,
hired.
Done. Yeah. And then, the oldest, Hannah, until she took education and principles and was like, I want to be a teacher. And then she took that class and she was like, nope. Wow. I'm not doing this, Mom. And I was like,
did she say why? Like what exactly?
Politics, bullshit.
Yeah, that's the hard stuff. I went for a while. I wanted to get my master's in ed leadership to be a principal. And while I was taking classes, I found out I was pregnant and put a pause on it. But it was something I was passionate about. But once I started learning about it, it just kind of was like, man, I really can't make that much of a difference, even as a principal. Like, there's so many things that I want to change are so above any district level position.
You got to go. And I've even talked to Jason about this as far as changing, um, just like civil court and family
Yeah.
law. That like I have to go back to school and become an attorney and become
Yeah.
a lawyer, and like that doesn't overwhelm me or concern me because the time is going to pass either way. But it's sad that the normal person can no longer change things.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they're so passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know for sure, but I don't think that the people who are making these education policies and changes humbly are as passionate about it as I am.
I agree.
So,
I agree. And I believe that the person who wrote the family code that goes into final divorce decrees has never had to live the family code. That's not fair. The person in the group of the good old boy system who sat down, because it was probably men,
yeah.
who sat down and wrote this family code is bullshit, respectfully. And so for teaching, I could see the exact same thing that why is it and so much and there's another huge debate going on right now that's like I'm voting for whoever's younger. Why are senior citizens running our country?
Voting for whoever's younger.
Mm-hmm.
So would you vote for like a child, a
I don't.
toddler?
I don't know. It's like whoever's running. That's their thing. Is like I'm voting for whoever's young, and I understand the reasoning because I've listened to his whole viewpoint on it.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I necessarily 100% agree with it. I'm just saying I understand where he's coming from and his reasoning behind.
Yeah.
So I it's that same way. Like we have these young, old, way older administrators making policies and procedures, SOPs and POPs for education, and they haven't been in the classroom for eons.
If at all.
Yeah. Yep. And so why are we not collaborating with the teachers in districts?
I think it's because these policymakers, these lawmakers, all these people know that whatever they say we have to do and we can't fight back, otherwise we lose our jobs.
Yeah.
They know it. They
What?
know the power they have.
Yeah, no, it's just complete bullshit. And I don't agree with it. And I want to make a difference and I want to make a change. And we've got to pull together as parents and as a nation and Texas as a whole, because
Mhm.
Texas education is so much different. Every education system is different in every state. Texas's education has got to change.
My whole life, I wanted to be a teacher. I'm 29 years old. From the time I started kindergarten at 5 years old until I graduated college. I mean, I wanted to be a teacher my whole life and put every ounce of love and passionate I had to it, and I left.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a problem when you have people who are so passionate and want to wake up every morning, no matter how hard it is to leave their own children, and go teach and love on and take care of your child, and they are leaving. This is not okay. I'm really, really scared for what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years because
I've said the exact same thing.
we're just leaving. We're just done.
Yep. Yeah. And it also makes me wonder, like the whole AI portion of things too. How is AI going to play a factor into education? And how, I mean, because AI can write a whole book now.
Mm-hmm.
AI can write you quotes. AI can answer your math question. Like,
Yeah.
are we just maybe going to teach our kids how to ask AI stuff now? Like, all of that's going to come into play at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. The administration just needs to back up with all the rules, needs to back up with all the testing, and needs to let teachers do what teachers do.
I would love to be a part of some social experiment where for one school year they let the teachers teach
With no standardized
with
testing.
no standardized testing, creating the lessons based off the student needs, and just see what happens. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
Look at the growth.
Yeah.
See how much the growth. Think about their mental state, the teachers and the students,
Mm-hmm.
because I can guarantee you everybody's going to be a lot less stressed.
What if they did a social experiment where it was like, okay, this is what we should be teaching for the age,
Mm-hmm.
and then as the student learns what they need to learn, instead of going by grade, they go by if they've learned it. Like, what if we moved them up, not by the age or grade or group, but we moved them based off of what they were able to consume
Mm-hmm.
in their growth rate instead of age rate? by growth rate.
I think that'd be really interesting. I do think maturity can factor into it because I've had, first graders reading on a fourth grade level,
Yeah.
but I know they could not go to fourth grade. They wouldn't be able to handle it.
No,
You
you
know?
couldn't put. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like I don't think maturity would have a lot to do with it, but
Yeah.
I think it would be just a really like if you put all fifth grader or started off with a kindergarten class, of 100 kids,
Mm-hmm.
a kindergarten class of 100 kids, and then you accelerated them and moved them as they progressed. What that would look like for them when they graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how many. I would sign my kid up for that.
Right.
I would.
It'd be really cool.
It would be really cool because at any point you could pull your kid and be like, "Yeah,
Right.
we're done.
It's not working.
It's not working for us." Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that we're not open-mindedly
Mm-mm.
thinking about.
Mm-mm.
We're just saying, "Oh, you're 7, so you go
Mhm.
here."
And then plug and chug all year.
Yep.
Fit as much in their brain as they can. Don't worry about anything else.
Yep. And then test. That doesn't
Mm.
work. It doesn't work at all. And then who decided that in 3rd grade that's where the testing could start? Who decided that?
That's been a thing probably since, even before we were in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it would be a really interesting concept if we opened up and tested different types of education.
Mm-hmm.
That, okay, you move on once, oh, okay, cool. Hey, you've mastered all of this stuff and you're only, halfway through. But then you could like really spread it out and it's like, once the kids master stuff, they move on. But the kids who haven't mastered it, you spend more time with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you reach a mastery level and you move on.
So the goal would be growth, not
Yeah.
mastery. And that's okay.
Yep.
Because growth can lead to mastery.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, like we need to celebrate the growth of our kids,
Mhm.
not maybe the passing of the subject, but like you went from a 7 to a 15. Granted, the
Mhm.
15's not passing, but that's still a large percentage from 7 to
Yeah.
15.
Whenever my kids take map tests, I don't tell them their score. I just tell them how much they went up by, if they stayed the same, or if they went down. So at the beginning of the year, they have no idea what they made
Mm.
unless the parent calls and asks. And then in the middle of the year when they take it, you went up a point. Oh my gosh, way to go. Your score stayed the same. That's okay, but we're going to work harder next time. Hey, you went down a few points. This was the area you went down in. Was it kind of confusing, kind of hard? Okay, we're going to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all about how can I keep learning and getting better. I don't
Yep.
think we always have to strive for this, 100% every time, because I couldn't get 100% every time. Let me tell you something. Some of those map questions, I have to ask another teacher what the correct answer is, because some of them are just crazy and written strangely and are way too complicated for a child to figure out and where to start on the problem. When I taught first grade, we had a reading map test where they had to read a passage and answer questions about it. The passage was nonfiction, which is fine, about kiwi birds in New Zealand.
Okay.
First grade. Reading about kiwi birds in New Zealand.
They don't even know what New Zealand is.
No, or a kiwi. What? How does that make how are they going to relate to that at all? And then be able to answer questions about it. It's
It makes
bizarre to
no
me.
sense to me.
If you were to ask me about New Zealand right now, I couldn't answer anything, I don't think.
Oh, no, I couldn't, but I would ask if you were going to pay for my flight.
Yeah. Valid.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, if you have any piece of advice for us okay, so my final question
Okay.
is what advice can you give us cuz Meet the Teacher's coming up? What
Mhm.
advice can you give us for Meet the Teacher to maximize it? Or maybe even a piece of advice that we shouldn't do on Meet the Teacher.
I always recommend that when parents go to meet the teacher, if possible, bring your kid so the teacher can have a name to a face. Because that's always nice whenever the kid's walking in the next day or the next week or whatever, and you kind of can remember what they look like. Especially for the littler ones, because they might be nervous to have a new teacher. When you're talking to the teacher, ask about if there's anything that you can provide them that wasn't necessarily on the school supply list. Like you said, it could be tissues, it could be hand sanitizer, or anything they need. Make sure you have the contact information for that teacher. Probably the email is the most likely thing you'll get, just in case you ever need to reach them. I'm trying to think what else is really beneficial.
Talking to the teacher on
Yeah,
Meet the Teacher.
basically.
Yeah.
If your kid has, more than one teacher, if they have a reading and a math teacher, making sure you speak to both. Um, a lot of parents would talk to me right off the bat about being nervous for the STAR test. That's a long ways away. I wouldn't even bring that up yet. Don't even worry about it. And it's hard to answer questions like, what can we be working on at home? Because every kid is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
My advice is always make sure you have something to read at home, a book, a chapter book, something that they can read at home. Not necessarily an ebook, a physical book, something that they can work on at home.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask about homework. Because I always do a survey for my parents if they prefer no homework, paper homework, or digital homework, because I like to kind of know what everyone feels. I feel like more teachers are doing away with homework, but it's always, I mean, you can always ask about it. To kind of think about how your evenings are going to look, especially if your kid is part of a team of some sort
Mm-hmm.
or an extracurricular activity of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think just making the teacher aware that you are on the same team as them and that you're going to back them up says more than any Amazon gift card or Starbucks mug.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that the parent has your back is a big deal because we don't always have that.
That is so true.
And that really stinks.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Awesome. What shouldn't we do?
Start out by telling them all the issues your kids have
While your kid's standing
while your
there?
kid's standing there. It's really overwhelming in the moment, and the kid's embarrassed, and that really stinks.
Yeah.
Meet the teacher night is really kind of a like quick thing. So when you sit there and you ask for their like whole curriculum or for their whole schedule, that's kind of stressful in the moment. Um, Asking questions that have nothing to do with that teacher's class. So if you're meeting the kid's teacher, but you have a question about the speech teacher, I'm probably not going to know the answer to it. And it stinks to keep repeating and being like, I'm so sorry, I don't have the answer to that. So making sure you're asking the right teacher the questions about their subject.
At Meet the Teacher, will they know the line out of their day? Like, will they already know the structure of their class day for the school year? At Meet the
Maybe or
Teacher?
maybe not, because
Okay.
a lot of times it's the admin who have to create the schedule, and schedules are rough because you have to have each subject requires a certain amount of minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and to try and fit it all in is a tough job.
Yeah, because there's rotation for like
Yes.
PE and choir
Yes.
and art and all that stuff.
So I've talked to principals who literally have to go through hundreds of drafts of schedules before they get one right.
Wow.
Because it's so hard to fit everything in. So a lot of times at Meet the Teacher, like the teacher might not even have their daily schedule yet. But what they probably know is like when lunch or recess is
Mhm.
and maybe when elective is, maybe.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
and maybe don't get frustrated if they don't have an answer.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
there's times when, we start the school year and we don't have it all together yet because of other problems that the school is having. So,
This is true.
mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in and sharing your experience.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I think that there's so much that needs to be changed, and I had no idea that teachers are scared to speak up.
Oh, yeah. And it's a shame that it has to turn to leaving the job in order to speak up for it. It's a shame.
It is a big shame. It's a very, 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 it's almost like you sign a gag order when you sign your contract.
Mm-hmm, you do. And that's every district.
Yeah.
In the state and probably the country as well.
That's awful. Well, let's all band together and make some changes.
Let's do it. Support your teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers, if you're listening, you're amazing. You're not rock stars. You're educators.
Yep. First responders, for sure.
Be treated like one.
Yeah, be treated like one. And parents, we got to do better. We don't put... Sometimes it's the student's fault. Sometimes it's not the teacher's fault.
Sometimes, yeah.
So lean more harder on your student. Hold your kid more accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And support the teacher. Ask the teacher, okay, cool. Hey, I'm sorry my kid's acting up. Hey, I'm sorry that happened. What can I do?
Yeah.
What do you need from me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to having you back on.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, that's it. If you were interested in joining us on the podcast, you're more than welcome to. You can send us an email at us@everydaymomentsforus.com, or you can like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Everyday Moments for Us. We're the same on every platform, every brand, Everyday Moments for Us. And I look forward to coming back. We'll see you guys soon.
Yay.